Ragno, good pass, gets it over. Sims with some room. Sims uses his size, muscles in, shoots, scores! David Sims scores the game-winning goal. Army defeats Notre Dame. Sims absolutely barrels through the Notre Dame defense, bounces a shot past Shane Dahl.
Lacrosse hits can be brutal and violent. The equipment that athletes use is paramount to their safety when they play this sport. The most important piece of that equipment is the helmet. These helmets play a critical role in the prevention of injuries. However, not everyone has access to the safest options, and in the case of women's lacrosse, there is no helmet required at all. This video will aim to inform about the current state and history of the helmet and the controversy surrounding the safety certifications, its role in men's and women's lacrosse, and the social implications of different helmets. Lacrosse has been around since the 17th century, but helmets were not put into use until 1928, when leather caps were introduced. Since then, major strides have been made in the technology that is used in protective equipment. In the 1940s, a face mask was implemented. In the 1960s, the leather was replaced by hard plastic. In the 90s, Cascade, the current leading helmet manufacturer, burst onto the scene with a sleek, safe, and more comfortable design than any other on the market. Currently, they still lead the market in sales and have even produced a helmet to be worn in women's lacrosse. According to a news article, there is some worry about the use of these helmets in women's lacrosse because they are not mandatory and can pose a larger threat to the other players if they do not wear it. The rules do not do anything to address this. The technology has advanced very quickly over the past few years and may even have advanced too quickly. In 2014, the newest model of lacrosse helmets from Cascade were recalled from the shelves and from consumers. A rival company had the helmets retested and found that they did not meet the standards put forward by NOCSE, the governing body for equipment certifications. According to the New York Times, this put hundreds of thousands of players at a higher risk for injury because the company did not accurately determine the effectiveness of their products. Cascade had to outfit each individual helmet with extra padding in order to meet the criteria. Here you can see some of the testing that occurs in the certification process. The helmet is fitted with impact sensors that determine the amount of force that would be transmitted to the wearer's head. The helmet is then slammed into a hard object at a constant speed, and the readings must meet or exceed the standards. These concussive forces can have detrimental effects on the athlete, especially when they are young. Concussions are an extremely prevalent topic in today's day and age. They have been proven to lead to serious mental health issues, and because of this, an extra emphasis has been placed on preventing them and treating them thoroughly. Because of this extra emphasis, companies have been able to reduce the number of concussions in lacrosse. According to a study conducted on NCAA lacrosse players, concussion rates have decreased in the past 10 years. The researchers attributed this decrease to advancements in the technology within helmets. This means that the newer helmets are safer than their older predecessors. The problem is that not everyone has access to these new models due to their high cost. For players that cannot afford the newest model, in order to play they must do so with older, cheaper versions of the same helmet, and sometimes even pre-owned gear. Handing one's old gear down to those in need is a very common practice in the lacrosse community because the gear is so expensive. But this turns out to be a health hazard for those new players because they are outfitted with gear that will not protect them as much as it should. This creates a divide between those who can afford the newest, safest gear and those who cannot, those who are forced to risk their health if they wish to play the sport. According to an article in the Journal of Biomechanics, used helmets scored lower than new ones in almost every single aspect of testing. Helmet manufacturers say a helmet should be taken out of use after just 3 years of play. Some of the helmets that young players wear today are older than they are, and that puts them at risk. Helmets are the most important piece of equipment for any player. The current state of the technology prevents more head injuries than previous models ever could. Since there are several different models to purchase, this means cheaper versions will be less protective, which creates a divide between those who can afford to be safer and those who cannot. In a way, this is a microcosm of society. Those who are able to afford it are put at an advantage and accrue less risk than those who cannot.